Well, I'm so excited to finally get to share kind of the message that the Lord has really touched me, and I've just been kind of but just been challenged with this week. So where are my parents in the room? All right, okay, yes, all four of you guys. I'm not a parent, I don't have children, but from what I've learned from my mom, and seen from my mom and mentors in my life, and some close friends of mine that just become parents, is that parenthood takes a lot of sacrifice, am I right? Yeah? And trust in the Lord, yes? And moms have to surrender their bodies to pregnancy, trusting the Lord in this active creation that is going on inside of them. And parents have to surrender and sacrifice their time, finances, energy to the life of a new child and their family, right? And even into adulthood, parents have to kind of let go of their children, trusting the Lord to guide them into the rest of their life, right? And if there's someone in the Bible that is kind of this, that exemplifies the sacrifice of motherhood, I would say it's the woman Hannah. And not only does she an example kind of motherhood, parenthood, but I would say she is an example of the life we're really called to live as Christ followers. Hannah's story is one of faithfulness, trust, and surrender. And in her love for God, it leads her to give up something that is very, very dear to her. However, it's in this sacrifice that she makes, that she receives an abundant blessing. And not only does she receive it, but the rest of Israel receives it. So if you know anything about the story of Hannah, is that her son is Samuel, who was kind of the last judge to Israel at the time before Saul is anointed king. And through her story, I just kind of want to encourage us today that what you give up to God does not go to waste. In fact, when you choose to sacrifice and surrender your way of life to Him, He uses it for greater purposes, and it often returns with way more abundant blessing. So Hannah is she's not really talked about a whole lot in the Bible. It's actually only in 1 Samuel 1 and 2. So if you kind of want to turn there, we'll be in those two chapters. She is alive during the time of the Judges, before the first king of Israel. And she's married to a man named Elkanah. And as was common at the time, Elkanah also has another wife named Peninnah. Mm-hmm. And her story is kind of similar to some others that we've heard and we've talked about in class. Peninnah has children, and Hannah is barren. And as we know, there's such a burden of barrenness at that time. I think for all mothers, it's a burden. But especially at that time in ancient Israel, it was considered disgraceful. You couldn't continue your family line. It says, not only does she deal with that disgrace herself, but Peninnah kind of makes fun of her and makes it worse for her, and she gives her a really hard time. It says in verses 4 through 7, whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, so they would go up to Shiloh to make their sacrifices at the tabernacle, because that was the religious center at the time. It says, whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all of her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her. The Lord had closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her till she wept and would not eat. So I don't know if you've ever been in a position, maybe you were a really good student in class and the teacher favored you, or you're really good at a sport, or you got a job promotion at work, and you had this one person is kind of your rival, and they would just be really mean to you. And it wasn't because you had done anything wrong to them, it's just because they were jealous of you, jealous of the favor that you received. This is kind of like Peninnah, she's just really mean to Hannah. Because it's obvious that Elkanah really loved her, right? She's just the epitome of the mean girl, mean girls. That's what I like to think of her. But in this story, we see that in spite of Hannah's hurt, that Peninnah causes her throughout year after year. It says year after year this would happen when they went to the tabernacle. In spite of Hannah's hurt, she refused to let it hinder her faithfulness to God. So she would continue to go. Even though she knew Peninnah would cause her to cry, she continued to come to God. And then, not only was she faithful to continue, but her response to this anguish in her spirit was not to shrink away, but to turn to God in prayer.
That's good.
In verse 11, verse 10 says, in her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. She made a vow, saying, Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord. For all the days of his life, no razor will ever be used on his head. And we've kind of talked about this a little bit too in class. No razor will ever be used on his head. It's a Nazarite vow, kind of a sign of set apartness. So she says, if you give me a son, I will dedicate him to you. And then, as she's praying, so she's kind of in this prayer, she's gotten up from where she was sitting with Peninnah and Elkanah, and she goes and she stands in front of the tabernacle. And Eli is over there, and she's crying and praying, but it says in verse 13, she was praying in her heart, her lips were moving, and her voice was not heard. And Eli thought she was drunk. So she must have been really, really praying real hard, I think, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever prayed you're praying in your heart, but your lips are moving, but she must have been crying for anything. She was, whoa! And she says, no. She tells them, she's like, her response is, I was pouring my soul out to the Lord. And she tells him what she was praying for, and he blesses her. And in the verse, she says, what does she say? It says, she went away and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast. And here, Hannah shows us that the heart of God is a comforting retreat for sorrow. So in her anguish, she turned to the Lord, and she knew the heart of God. She knew that if she went and she prayed and she spent time with the Lord, that she would be able to return in peace, because he has enough peace. And then, not only does that show us that God is a comfort for all of our deepest hurts and needs, but also that he hears the prayers of our heart. Hannah was praying in her heart. Her lips were moving, but she was not making any noise. We come to find out, if we know, anything about the story of Samuel, she has a baby. She has a child. So can I just say that God knows the deepest desires and prayers of your heart, even if they're not verbalized. He knows the anguish of your soul, even if the people around you don't understand the hurt that you're being caused. God knows, and he hears you. So then, yes, Hannah gets her child, right? And this is kind of like the epitome of what I want to share with you guys today. So she gets Samuel, and she actually stays true to her word to the Lord. So she told the Lord she was going to dedicate the Lord. So she decides she's going to wean Samuel, and then she brings him back to the temple for him to stay there. And verse 27 says, I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I will give him to the Lord. For his whole life he'll be given over to the Lord, and he worshiped the Lord there. So Samuel ended up being raised with Eli at the tabernacle, kind of going through like the priestly duties and participating in that. And Hannah came to visit him once a year. So in this moment, she gave up her right to mother Samuel. She had every right to keep him. She had every right to do motherhood. This is the child that she asked God for. And he answered her. And she was true to her word, and she gave him, and she dedicated her back to the Lord. Yeah. Wow. And not only that, I don't know if you guys have kind of like bargained with God before, like, God, if you give me this, I will do whatever you want. And you're like, you just say it because you're saying it. I don't know if you ever really follow through on that. But Hannah doesn't. And, in that, in chapter 2, we see this beautiful song that she sings all about God's faithfulness. Not only does she give up her right, and she surrenders her son and dedicates him to the Lord, but she does it in joy. It is her joy of the Lord that allows her to make that sacrifice. And then we come on to see, so she sings this beautiful song of God's faithfulness. And then in chapter 2, verse 21, it says, and the Lord was gracious to Hannah. She gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. So not only does she have another child, she has 5. And if you know anything about Samuel, he goes on to be the prophet to Israel, who anoints the first 2 kings, right? Israel flourishes under his leadership at the time. So I know some of you might be thinking okay, that's nice. God didn't ask Hannah to give up Samuel. That was her choice. She did that. So that's cool, it's a blessing, awesome. But I really like to think that Hannah made that vow because she knew the heart of God. She knew his character. And she chose to surrender her son because she loved him. She loved the Lord. And she trusted. So her hope wasn't in being a mother, being able to mother Samuel. At the end of the day, her hope was in the faithful character of God. That whatever was in her hands that the Lord had given to her didn't really belong to her. It belonged to the Lord. And that he was going to have a more abundant purpose for what she could have, what she could give him. And she was able to surrender her son because she trusted him. And not only did Hannah receive the blessing of that trust, but Israel did too. Some of us, though, unlike Hannah, have been clinging on to the things that God has given us instead of surrendering them back to him. And I think the life that we are to live as Christ followers is ultimate surrender. I mean, he wants control of every aspect of our life, right? Finances, gifts, talents, relationships, times, emotions, every right. All our rights that we think we have when we come to know the Lord, we're to surrender them, to give them back. But sometimes, instead of trusting God with our time, we're a little bit more fearful of how he's going to ask us to spend our time. So we overschedule ourselves, and we prioritize unnecessary things, and we live in anxiety and worry because we want to have control of our time. Sometimes, instead of trusting God with our finances, we're a little fearful of what he's going to ask us to donate to or to give to. So we spend it selfishly, or we hold on to it stingily. That's a word I found out. And we idolize our wealth. We don't allow God the opportunity to do more with what we have. On the other hand, some of us have allowed this call of surrender to build up resentment in our hearts rather than joy. So some of you, maybe you're okay, well, I've been obedient to God. Yes, I'm giving him my time. I'm serving in church, or I'm going to move to the place that I feel like God is wanting me to do. But you're doing it out of obligation instead of love. You've been too focused on the thing that God has asked you to give up instead of looking to the one you are giving it to and trusting him. I'm not saying Hannah's sacrifice was easy, but I'm saying that it was worth it. And she received abundant blessing. So we must remember the character of God. Do you really believe that he's good? Do you really believe that his way of life is better than the way of life that we would have? Do you really believe that life following the Lord is truly abundant? One of my favorite authors, her name is Elizabeth Elliot. She's married to the missionary Jim Elliot. I'm currently going through a devotional book of hers called The Music of His Promises, and she writes this. She says, obedience to God very often appears to us at first glance to mean sacrifice. We shrink from it. Sacrifice always involves death. But the divine paradox, the one we find running throughout all of Scripture, is that this sacrifice, the offering ourselves in obedience to God, always means life. It is life. Nothing less than life that God offers us. So when we disobey, what we're actually doing is choosing death. When we refuse to give God control, we refuse to give things to him, we're choosing death. We're not choosing the abundant life that he actually has for us. We're choosing less than that. So what if the very thing that you're clinging onto is the very thing that God wants to use to bless you and those around you? Do you trust God enough to believe that by surrendering to his ways and purposes, that he can do more with your life than you ever dreamed possible? And what is he asking you to surrender today?